Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Pelt Music Podcast. Shortly, we'll be joined by CJ Wildheart, who has just released his latest solo album, Split. But before then, the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening. Welcome to CJ Wildheart to the Pelt Music Podcast. Absolutely delighted to have you on. How are you this evening?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm okay. It's I've had to turn the heating on. It's getting a bit cold in York. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the autumn or winter, I've got to say.
No, I'm with you on that one. And there's a running joke with me and my wife actually, which I'm just the typical sort of old dad where I say, put a jumper on rather than the heating. And I've always said, remember the 5th of November. That's when you're allowed to put the heating on, and it's the 6th as we talk. So you're officially allowed to have the heating
I find
on.
it really hard. I never had. I mean, my folks, if it's cold, you turn the heating on, And I'm not a jumper wearer. I don't think I own a jumper as like a traditional jumper.
Yeah,
I don't own one. I'll put layers on rather than wear something that will keep you warm. Just one item of clothing. I always find jumpers a bit. I don't know. I'm not a fisherman. I don't play folk music.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I don't think I own a true jumper in the truest sense of the word either.
I'm thinking Aaron sweater.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like that forbidden clothing, like the Aaron sweater and the dungaree sort of look. It's forbidden,
Yeah,
Should never
definitely.
be worn together.
No, definitely not. But one thing keeping everyone warm, obviously, that is a fan of yourself, CJ, is the fact that there's just so much new music that has come out from you over the last year. So there's quite a bit for us to get into, and obviously we might as well start with the most recent because 3 days ago, as we speak, you put out your latest solo album, Split. So obviously, I encourage listeners to go and check it out, and obviously order a copy and have a listen to it. From your perspective, where did the story of Split start? What inspired you to start writing that latest album?
It's really easy. It's not the title Split's nothing to do with, like, say, me splitting from the Wildhearts or splitting from my partner. It's purely the way my musical mind works is where I sometimes can be quite hard and aggressive, and I can sometimes be quite soft and poppy. So that's what the split is. And initially I wanted the album to be 5 hardcore songs and 5 pop songs, but it's just not the way the album panned out. But you get the gist that some of the songs are quite angry, some of them are almost like love songs.
Yeah, there is a split, as you say, 2 sort of separate sides to the record, and it does definitely come across. And it's a great album. I've obviously been having to listen to it in advance of talking to you, and obviously listeners are going to have to listen to it themselves to make up their own opinion on that. But it's definitely got my seal of approval and recommendation. And as far as obviously yourself, and obviously you put the record out self-released, DIY. What sort of challenges does that present in 2023 for an artist to be able to do that?
Well, I mean, I don't have a record deal as a solo artist, and so I either put albums out myself or I go and get a day job. And I mean, the hard thing is selling enough to make this, or to call this a day job, to call it a job. And this has never been a hobby for me. Music has always been my bread and butter, and it's been my profession. I'm a guitarist, so a singer. So and I'd like to keep it that way, but I'm also a realist as well. And if there ever comes a point where music isn't bringing in enough bacon, so to say, I would go out and get a job. But right now I'm scraping a living, and I can still call myself a guitarist and a punk rocker. So for that I am eternally grateful.
Yeah, and I'm sure your fans are grateful that you're still pushing on with it. Say it's a great record that they do need to check out. And obviously, yeah, in 2023 it is really, really hard. So kudos to you as well for obviously having that ethic about yourself to be willing to put yourself through the challenges of getting a an album out there under the sort of circumstances. And one thing that definitely listeners can do is obviously if they head to your website, they can order some bundles from there. There's some merch on their t-shirts that go with it as well. And you know, I always on every podcast try and encourage listeners to go out and buy physical products from bands, because you know, even bands,
it's let's not beat around the bush. The way
yeah,
bands earn money is by people buying vinyl, buying CDs, buying T-shirts. It's always been like that, and you know, obviously, I mean, I embrace the modern world we live in. You know, I'm not some Luddite who's harking back to the '70s and how great it was. And I love the fact that anyone who's got the ability, the effort, and the time can make albums in their bedrooms now, in their sitting rooms, in their basements. You don't need to have a huge record deal. You don't need to suck corporate cock as we did back in the day. It's but saying that, my fan base is predominantly older, and they still like a physical product. It is that hunger is waning a bit, but if people weren't buying vinyl off me and they weren't buying CDs, weren't buying T-shirts, I just wouldn't be talking to you right now. You know, I couldn't survive on digital sales alone. I don't play enough live shows as well to, you know. So it's a fine balancing act, you know. So I'm fortunate that I have a lot of old people into my music.
and hopefully some younger fans will get into it as well. And obviously, you know, I think
that's why I wear makeup on the covers. Yeah, once I put makeup on, no one knows how old I am. You know? Half the people don't even know what sex I am.
Brilliant. No, and obviously, people would be surprised, I think, as well, just the level that what we've just been talking about hits as well. You know, bands that you do see out there touring big venues and selling a lot of tickets, they are, you know, for lack of a better word, struggling as well to make ends meet, because you know the industry, as you touched upon, CJ, is completely changed now.
My heart weeps for them.
Yeah.
Anyone playing a big venue and they're struggling, well, they're sorry to put it this way, but you're an idiot. If you're playing a big venue and you're struggling, well, you know, you need to fucking check yourself, really, seriously, because you know, I know how much bands earn when they start playing in front, even if you're playing in front of say 700 people a night. I know how much money you're earning, and I know how much money you're earning from your merch. If you're struggling to live, there's something really wrong with either your management, your deal, or yourself. So you need to sort it out. Yeah, you don't need to be playing in front of that many people to earn a decent living from this business. You know, it's not as bad as people make it out to be.
And I think, you're probably definitely. And I think you touched on a few issues there, actually, where, you know, perhaps, you know, definitely in the past, I think, you know, there's been leeches in the music industry that have kind of siphoned the money away from the actual artists. And obviously they're probably changed sort of masks that they wear these days, but they are definitely still out there.
There's leeches, and when money is being generated, there's always going to be leeches. It's nothing to do with the music industry. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. If you're making a lot of money, there are going to be people, you know, who are going to exploit that. And artists used to be, I mean, they still are exploited because but the problem is it's hunger and ambition, and you know that ambition to be famous and stuff like that. You can be blinkered, you know, and you can be manipulated and exploited, you know. But you know, people, older artists who are selling out and playing in front of a decent sized audience each night, they're making it all right. It's not as bad as they make it.
Yeah. No,
I know Spotify don't pay them as much as they should get paid, but you know they're flogging hoodies at £50 a pop, and they don't cost £45 to make.
Nah, of course not. Of course not. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah, with you completely. And obviously with Split, the first sort of single that come out from it was Butterfingers. So I always like to ask around, you know, the singles that get picked, and you know, more so, you know, why that song stood out apart from the rest of the songs on the album, perhaps. So yeah, with Butterfingers, what stood out to you about that song?
It was the first song I wrote and recorded for the album, and it's just got a really good hook to it, you know. I mean, it's called Butterfingers because I was just singing Butterfingers over the guitar line hook. It goes down, 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 and I was going Butterfingers before I'd even written the song. I had that hook, so I just kept the name Butterfingers. And you know, it's a song's about me being a teenager in the '80s in Soho, and you know, it just brings back good memories, and yeah. I'm not going to get on Radio 1, you know. I'm not going to get on Radio 2. I'm not trying to make it here. My time to make it was a long time ago, and you know, I had, you know, both had two bands and they had over £2 million invested in them. You know, we fucked up. We didn't become household names, but that time's been and gone. So it's my label. I can put whatever I want out, you know. So I'm having fun with it. And, you know, I got to dress up and put some makeup on again. I love wearing makeup. I love wearing my mask. I love looking like I'm an entertainer, looking like I'm in a band, you know, and it was fun. You know, and that's why Butterfingers came out as a single, because it's a fun song, you know.
Yeah, and that is such an important word, fun, you know. Like you say, not just in the music industry, but in life, people, you should be having fun. You should be enjoying what you're doing. And it's so refreshing to hear, you know, I say, the work ethic that you got to sort of, you know, push out new music in 2023, but to be doing it because you're having fun. And obviously, you know, the Butterfingers video, as you touched upon, was actually down as my next point. Yeah, getting in the makeup and putting that out there, you could tell, you know, that you're having fun by watching it. I'm someone that watches a lot of music videos, and I always ask about them on the podcast. And again, I love when you can just see through the, you know, fourth wall and everything, and just see, you know, oh, this band's having fun, you know, making this music and putting this video out, and that did shine through on Butterfingers. So, how did the concept, obviously, for that video come up for you?
Well, the whole idea with the cover, with the makeup, half of it's kind of supposed to be like a kind of a feminine sort of kind of angel face, and the other half's a devil, and that's the whole split thing.
Yeah.
And in the '80s in Soho, I mean, people had very strong images. I mean, back then I had, like, you know, hair, 10-foot hair, head to foot and leather. I used to wear makeup. I mean, I'm 18, 17, you know, and you know, we all had really strong looks, you know, whether you're a glam into like a goth, a punk, and it was a great melting pot. And I mean, the '80s as a decade was really influential for me, and much more so than the '90s. And I was successful in the '90s, but the '80s shaped the person I am today. And I was flamboyant. I was a flamboyant young man, and you know, that flamboyance has carried on throughout my whole life. You know, you know, I'm 56 in a few weeks' time, and you look at the cover of Split, and you know, it's great. At my age, I can still do that, and you know, I have nice eyes as well. That helps. So I've been told.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and obviously, there'll be a link in the bio of the episode, so listeners can go and watch that video. And obviously, I encourage them to do so, because music videos are a lost art these days. I'm always glad when I see that someone has actually made the effort again to put one out.
I mean, it's any excuse to have a jump around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. I'm with you, on that for sure. And obviously, you know, you talk about Split, and you got the sort of the angel side and the devil side. You know, the good, the bad, the you know, the heavy and the soft, and all the juxtapositions of that. Obviously, we just touched on having fun, and it's such an important thing to be able to have fun in what you do. You also touched on, obviously, you've been in two really successful, moderately successful bands. You know, you've done well. When you release music as a solo artist, on the flip side of being in the bands, you're now solo. Is there, you know, on the opposite side of the fun, some pressure that comes with it, because it is your name that is on its own now? You know, do you feel pressure?
Yeah, I work on such a small scale now with my own label, which I run with my manager. You know, I write everything and I record most of my music myself, and then get my drummer, who plays on all my albums, Jason Bold, who plays with Bullet from a Valentine. He's played on all my solo albums. And then I work with my producer, Dave Draper. He mixes the albums with me and it takes me about 4 months to make an album on my own. But the pressure is, it's not, there is no pressure about having to have, the single on the radio or having to get in the charts anymore or having, millions to pay back to some big corporate like record label. The pressure is on me being able to pay my mortgage, being able to pay my bills, being able to feed my son. That's the pressure now. So this is I'm working on I'm a sole trader basically. So I'm pulling in a wage. Yeah. This isn't about trying to find new wheels for my Ferrari or I've got to employ a gardener to look after, my extensive land around my mansion. It's not like that. I live a basic, normal life. The pressure is if I don't sell enough albums, then it's like, working and not getting paid. Yeah. So, the pressure is I just need to earn a basic wage. That's the pressure now. There's no high stakes here. This is me living in the real world. I just happen to make punk rock music and I'm trying to sell it. It's like no different to someone who makes pies or paints a painting or, it's my store is online at my shop, my online store rather than, at the local market. But that's the kind of stakes I'm dealing with. It's not high pressure here.
Yeah, and I guess the more I think about it artistically as well, creatively, I suppose there's more of a freedom, less of a pressure because obviously you're not in a group environment. You've got that freedom that perhaps you wouldn't have. So I guess that's a benefit to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, quality control is really important to me as well. I would never put something out that I didn't think was value for money as well. There's a lot of ways musicians can cut corners to earn money. And I don't think I've ever cut those corners. It's like, I want to go out and play live with my band. I could go out and play acoustic shows. I'd never do that. I did it for once or twice. Hated it, and it's not what I'm about. I'm a punk rocker. Yeah. I need a band. It needs to be loud. I put out a best of album. I could have just remastered it. Yeah. Stuck the same songs out with a bit of EQ on them. I didn't. I re-recorded them and remixed all the old stuff. It's a harder, more expensive way, but I could have pulled punches and just gone in and got people to buy the same song again with a bit of fairy dust on top of it, and I just can't do that. So it's about quality rather than cutting corners. Always give people the best possible product you can give them, and it doesn't matter what you are making. Yeah. Whether it's food, music, a painting, you always sell the best possible thing you can sell. And that way you're not letting them down and you're definitely not letting yourself down. And you can talk about something with a bit of conviction and passion and love.
Huh? Yeah. And it is so refreshing to hear that from you. It really, really, really is. And obviously I'm glad you touched on because we're feeding off each other here because my next question was on lives actually. So you sort of hitting all the points I need you to hit, CJ. And with lives, obviously compilation album that you put out just over a year ago now. And again, the split is I'm trying to think now, probably your fifth studio solo album, fifth, sixth.
Seventh, I think.
Seventh.
Number 7. Maybe it could be number 8 because he got the Kicks live album as well. So it is the 8th.
Which we're going to get onto in a minute as well, CJ. So you're doing well on ticking off my points, definitely. With lives, I was intrigued as well. When you're putting out a compilation like that, and obviously you have got quite a back catalogue to pick from there. I mean, obviously there's some bands, massive bands that have only ever had one album, and then they put out a greatest hits album, and you think, how are you putting out? But how do you go about selecting which songs you're going to put on to that compilation?
Just the songs I like, my favorite songs. As I said, I'm the label. I'm my own A&R man. I just pick the songs I like. I also knew that the older songs from other bands I was going to re-record them as well. So, which I did because I wanted those older songs, like the Honeycrack songs, the Wildheart songs, have all been re-recorded because I wanted them to sound like something I'd done recently, and they have the same drummer on them, and we remix them. And also, it's that value, given value for money. I just didn't want to grab compilation tapes, so it should be free. You shouldn't be charging people for a compilation tape. It's something they should put together themselves. So I wanted to give them a complete volume of music that actually had some care and attention, slung at it.
Yeah, and you can tell, and there's 20 tracks as well off the top of my head, so it's a good chunk there as well. So it's not just picking 10 to 15 songs or whatever and just sticking on there just the singles. There's a good selection of songs there, so it does work really, really well. And again, to sound like a broken record somewhat, I would do encourage listeners to go and check that one out. And again, they do need to check out, as you touched upon, CJ, Kicks. So a live album that you've put out only a few weeks ago now. And again, there is still some physical copies, I believe, left that can be ordered of
not
that.
many. I think there's about 15 of the vinyl left, and I don't know how many CDs left. Not a box of CDs. So
yeah,
I don't print like tons, and I don't do repressings either. So once they're gone, they're gone.
And that's an important message for listeners. Definitely, if you are interested, do head along to the website. Again, there'll be a link in the bio of the episode, and listeners can click through and grab yourselves a copy of that. And obviously, with Kicks, and again, putting out a live album is just, even with quite a lot of backing, is quite a challenge to capture the sort of true sound of a live show on records. There's some that have been done really, really well by bands in the past, some really not so well, and I think yours has captured the energy of your shows really, really well. So how
sorry,
no, go for it, CJ.
How was that captured? Or
So
what
was the whole process like for you to be able to capture that and recreate obviously that energy on there?
So recording and capturing a band is easier now than it's ever been due to technology. I mean, back in the day, I was fortunate enough to have, when I started out on my music career, everything was analog, everything was recorded on tape. We didn't have the computers, we didn't have that digital thing, that manipulation you can do now. We didn't have it. So a band would have to be rehearsed and know their songs and know them inside out when you went into the studio. Now it's possible to grab a performance and turn it into something, incredible. It's really, but you shouldn't do that. But that and ability to cheat is there. But with the live thing, we captured, a few shows. And we compiled the best performances as well. Our drummer was drumming to a click every night, so everything was in time. So we could, if there was a better vocal performance from Bristol with a better bass line from Cardiff, we married them together. And it's not it is live, but you can do that really easily now as well. But post show, the editing and the mixing you can do, it's so much easier now in the digital world. So it's we didn't go to quite like Spice Girl then, so we were auto-tuning stuff live on stage. We're not we're not that slick, but it's a punk rock gig. But
Exactly.
I think Kicks has captured it. I mean, the bit what works really, which I love the best, is we captured a little road movie as well. And for me, the road movie is what brings it all together, when you actually see the visuals as well as just hearing the audio. And just us being on tour, and there's bits of Richie on there and bits of Scott, and that tour was amazing. It was like one of the best times I've ever had on the road. And I've been doing gigs since I was, over the last 37 years I've been playing shows. And it was just last year to do a tour, which is like one of the best times you've ever had on the road. It's just amazing, because it's quite easy for older musicians to become quite jaded, especially ones in my position who had a lot of money invested into them by massive corporations, but they still didn't really make it. We're not household names, and we're like, when a band doesn't really make it, they get called a cult band. That's a band no one's ever heard of, but they had a lot of money thrown at them. Yeah, that's what I am. I'm a cult musician. So to do a tour only last year, that was one of the best I've ever done. At the tender age of 54, it's amazing. it's a blessing.
It is truly a blessing, definitely. And yeah, obviously the road movie as well, you touch on. I've got a note on that as well, because again, I was impressed that, again, I guess it goes back to the quality piece that you've mentioned of putting out a whole kind of package rather than just going for like the smaller, cheaper option or whatever it may be. And it's not something you get a lot of again these days, really, even though the technology, as you say, probably is out there more so now than ever to capture this sort of thing,
Yeah.
and put it on, but people aren't doing it. So I was really impressed, that you've done that. So where did the thought process come from for that? Was it
Well, I'm really fortunate that for being in bands that were relatively well known, I have a small but very loyal fan base, and some of that fan base are very talented. Like I have an amazing artist, Wilkes, who was a big fan of the Wildhearts and likes my solo stuff, and I think he does anyway. But I use him. I use him. No, he loves it. I use him for he's done the last 3 or 4 covers. He's an amazing artist, and for using him, I bounced off another couple of fans, Alicia and Rachel, who are videographers. They offered to come on tour and film for free, and they're really good. They made the Butterfingers video and the State of Us video, and it just really, really talented. They work relatively cheap as well, which at my level I can't afford to, pay mega bucks. So, but I always pay what I can afford to pay, and they're really good. Their passion is what makes me, puts me in a position to be able to do a road movie, because they're really passionate about what they do, and it's not just about the money to them. And if I didn't have these talented people around me, I'd be struggling a bit. This isn't me just doing this on my own. I have some really talented people around me, and thank God I do.
Yeah, no, definitely. You've got a great community around you of obviously people that you've met and obviously built these bonds with, and that's such a massive aspect these days of being able to do what you do, as you say. So yeah, no, absolutely fantastic. And again, encourage listeners to check out Road Movie and capture an element. Unfortunately, I was gutted I couldn't come along to these shows, because as you say, 3 quality acts playing, and then obviously all joining together. As a Wild Hearts fan, that was a great opportunity to catch like quite a few elements of that band live, and I was gutted not to be able to physically go there. But the Kicks album and the Road Movie, if you couldn't get to a show, is a great way of just seeing how the shows went. Yeah, definitely. And obviously with live shows leads me on to my next sort of question. Obviously, after that run of shows, obviously you've got this new album out. Is there sort of plans afoot? Are you going to be looking to come out and play some shows to obviously promote the album and play those songs live?
Yeah, I have to. I mean, I've got to go out and play again. I mean, when I did the tour last year with Grand Theft Audio and the Scott Sorry band, that was my first tour as a solo artist in 5 years. Obviously in that gap, the Wild Hearts were active and we put out albums and we were touring, but I'll be really honest with you, I don't like doing the smaller shows. I love big shows, and I joined a band not to record albums, not to be in the studio, but to be on the road touring. That is what got me into music, and there is nothing better than doing bigger shows and having the full crew and the tour buses and the hotels. And fortunate enough, or unfortunate enough, I've done more tours at that level than I have at the smaller level. So I find it really hard coming in doing small clubs in front of a couple of hundred people. But I had such a good time last year, which I didn't think I would. And my manager said, you've got to go out and you've got to promote, do some shows. And if you want to earn a bit more money, go out and do what you're supposed to be doing. You're a musician, you're supposed to be on stage entertaining. So yeah, we're looking at hopefully April doing a handful of shows, doing another bunch in September, and looking at some festivals as well. So I am going to be playing like next year, and it could be a yearly thing. If I carry on doing this, I might have to physically get my ass off my bloody chair and just go and play some shows. Maybe only 12 a year, maybe, but it's me doing what I've always loved. My first love is going out and playing on stage. You know, I just don't want to do it in front of 20 people thinking I'm a BG, because that's just sad.
No, definitely. I mean, you kind of always, whenever I've seen you live, just always have looked like you've been going back to that word fun, been having so much fun on stage. You just always look like you're enjoying yourself. So yeah, definitely cannot wait to be able to catch you out on the road. And obviously we talk about technology and the industry moving on. The best way for fans to stay up to date with you these days is, of course, social media, because that's where they'll get to hear about these shows first of all. So I always give out the social handles, and yours are really easy to give out, CJ, because it is literally your name. So Instagram and Twitter, or X, I should call it these days, is CJ Wildheart. Facebook, CJ Wildheart Official.
Yeah, because I got hacked.
Did you?
I had everything stolen off me, and my Facebook page was stolen and sold to a Saudi Arabian dental group, and they're still using it to scam people of money. But it's they still use my picture as well. I mean, maybe I just have a face that is appealing to Saudi Arabians. Who knows? Good teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
But,
good teeth. Yeah.
I was really scammed. I lost my email. I lost all my stuff. I managed to get my Twitter back. I managed to get Instagram back, but my Facebook page I lost. And so I'm in the process of that. Hence, CJ Wildheart Official. Yeah, I will not fix your teeth or sell your dentures.
That's good to know. Obviously, hopefully listeners would have found that regardless, without me saying it, because it's quite simple. Quite often there's all kinds of underscores and all of that kind of stuff. So you've done well, despite obviously the pitfalls of the technology is great, but there are some dangers to it, as you've identified with the
massively.
For sure. And before we get on to Magic Wand, which is the final sort of section of the podcast, I just want to touch on as well Devil Spit, the hot sauce. How I've got to admit, my taste buds aren't the like into the spiciest kind of stuff, so I've never really tried many hot sauces, but I've noticed there's a few coming out. So I just wanted to ask you, how is that going?
Devil Spit. I bought out the first bottle of sauce when Mabel came out, and that'll be like it'll be 10 years next year. A company approached me. They knew like food. If I could go back, I'd be a chef. I would never be a guitarist. And food is a big passion of mine, and cooking's a massive passion of mine. But my mum always made her own hot sauce. So Devil Spit's based on my family recipe. So it has a very unique flavor. But I make different strengths. I made one called Mojo, which is I made for my son. And he's been eating it since he was about 4. So it looks tough. The bottle looks like it's the real deal, but it's made for the faint-hearted. New romantics, should I say?
That'd be me then. Yeah.
Yes. So, but no, I only sell it a couple of times a year, and I've got about 100 bottles in my reserve, which I might sell, for Christmas this year. But the company who make my hot sauce are taking a break, so I probably won't do a major sale now till spring next year. So I need to talk to them, about logistics and and stuff. But it is a passion of mine. It is my if someone could say, would you like to be famous because your hot sauce, or famous because of the music? Right now, I think I choose the hot sauce. Yeah.
Nice. Well, I'll definitely try and grab a bottle. Yeah. And obviously I'll do listeners, again, to stay up to date with the hot sauce, and when more releases are coming, obviously those social media handles will be great. And you do post some pictures of obviously food that you've made, and I've sometimes do catch a glimpse of them going, God, that does look nice. So obviously
it's a big passion. It's a massive passion. I mean, it's my little boy is he's only 9. I became a dad for the first time when I was 46. It's quite an old, it's quite old becoming a dad for the first time when you're 46. And I'm 56 now, and I'm 56 next month, and he's 9, and he's discovering things about me and stuff, and he's discovering all these old albums, and he can't believe how much stuff is on YouTube and Spotify and Bandcamp. But the one thing he always says is like, I love that you're always cooking for me. He's really starting to appreciate food. But my parents were the same, massive into home cooking, and my dad was West Indian, my mum's from the Seychelles, so we had a lot of spicy and really fragrant food, and it's really important I instill that into my son. But food, you're nothing without, you are what you eat.
Yeah.
And I eat a lot of hot, fiery food, so I like to think I've got a bit of passion in me.
Yeah, definitely, and it's great for your son to be able to experience, the obviously food that you've grown up with, and obviously sharing that with him. Is 9 years old. My kid's 9 as well, my eldest boy, and it's such a fantastic age because they are now like a mini person. You can have conversations with them now, and so obviously, I'm sure he's absolutely loving learning about your history in the industry and what you've done. Probably not all of it, I'd imagine.
Yeah, he loves it when I swear and stuff. It's great. It's great.
Bless him.
He's turning into a proper little dude now. And I do, I must admit, if I could leave him at one age, it'll probably be like about 4.
Yeah.
3 or 4. When they're like little toddlers, but they're just starting to get a bit cheeky and have a bit of sus about them. But they're still little tiny little babies in their little tiny clothes and stuff. Yeah. I think that's like the perfect age, because he's 9. He's going to be, he's going to be an awkward teenager.
Exactly.
And I'll be scrubbing trying to get stains out of his bedclothes,
Yeah. It's a worry. It's coming to both of us in the near future.
I don't want him to be an awkward teenager.
No, exactly. No, parenthood is fantastic, watching them grow up, and absolutely great, all of it, everything we've been able to talk about. So there's so much really going on with yourself, CJ, that fans need to go and check out. So much they can look at. There'll be the links for all of it in the bio, but we always finish the podcast with the same section, and it's called Magic Wand. And obviously we've touched on maybe 1 or 2 issues in the industry as we've talked, and that often happened in this podcast, which is why I decided to bring this in, because there's clearly a lot of issues in the music industry. And what I do now is I give all the guests a magic wand, and we enter fantasy land slightly, because obviously these problems haven't got quick fixes, a lot of them. But if you had this magic wand, CJ, what one thing would you pick in the industry to change?
To change?
Yeah.
You're asking the wrong person, really, because I don't think there's anything you could really change. It's like the industry, like any industry, has moved with the times, and if I could change one thing, is to people to buy more physical product. But
there we go.
People don't have CDs or record players in their homes anymore, or gramophone. Everyone listens on their phone, and I totally understand that. But that is the one thing: buy more physical product, because that way it enables smaller musicians like myself to earn, a little bit more money.
Yeah, which is massively important, and we've touched on that. And I also, it's so easy for me to turn around to my right-hand side now and load up Spotify and have a little listen to CJ Wildheart on Spotify. But nothing beats, in the olden days, walking down to the record store. But these days, the postman coming with that parcel, and you unwrap it, and it's that physical vinyl or the CD or whatever it is, and you physically can hold it, you can look at it, put it on. There's something visceral about that, isn't there? That you don't get.
Can I say? Oh, let me say something, because it's like some people go, "You're a heathen," but I don't own a CD player, and I don't own a record player, and I don't have any. The only CDs I have here are my ones, which will be put into envelopes and shipped. And I don't play. I play everything on my phone or on my computer, And but I am buying. I don't know. What do you call? Is it? It's a record player, what plays vinyl. Yeah, I was going to say a vinyl player. That's how switched in I am with the ancient times. I'm going to get a vinyl player what plays those big black CDs. I'm actually getting one for Christmas. Can you believe it? Yeah. So I'll be able to play those big black CDs, the old and ancient people used to play. The reason why I'm getting it is because the split vinyl I'm getting is so beautiful. One of the colors is the most beautiful color I've ever seen. And I want to see it spinning around.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. I just want to see it spinning around. That's just the way I roll. So I'll be able to play those big, massive CDs on my vinyl player. There you go.
Oh, well, there you go. Well, Merry Christmas for that, definitely. And definitely a message I can get behind for the Magic Wand is definitely, yeah, buy more physical copies of albums from bands, because it really does support them. And yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic chatting with you, CJ. Really, really enjoyed it. We always just say to the guests at the last minute, what would be your final message for the listeners today?
Final, final message. My God, I don't know. I'm not really a final message type person, but just if there's one album of mine you need to get behind. It's my new one, Split. It's the only album I've ever made since probably Earth Versus, where I've actually been a fan of it. I really like this one. Yeah, the rest of them are shit, but this one's brilliant.
I love it. It's kind of, yeah, it's a cliche nowadays for bands to say, "Oh yeah, it's the best we've ever done," but that's a new take on that. So yeah,
No, not the. I mean, God, the God. I mean, the last Wild album I don't like. It sounds great, but I prefer the Renaissance Man one. Just because you make an album doesn't mean you're gonna love it. I've made some right old duffers. You got to be honest. Not every song or every album you make is brilliant, but this one is. I think it shows me what I'm about. I'm not just pop, I'm not just rock, I'm not just punk, I'm not just, angry stuff. It's a bit of everything on there. And the cover's great as well. I look like RuPaul. I mean, come on. You want to look like RuPaul. Was it just me?
No, what more could people want? Exactly. No, that's
an old man like me, and drag is brilliant. You've got to embrace that. Embrace the inner drag queen. Come on.
Definitely. No, absolutely amazing. No, thank you so much, CJ, for joining us on the podcast. It's been great.
You're welcome. Great questions as well. I really enjoyed this.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with CJ Wildheart. Do make sure you check out his new album Split, and of course follow him across social media to stay up to date with everything coming from him. You can also stay up to date with Full Pelt. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And finally, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening, because we'll be back very soon with another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast.